Hello, everyone. It's Tammy Warner with Aortic Hope. I'm glad you're here today with us. It's Aortic Hope Live TV. We have Chris with us joining us today. So, hey, Chris, I'm so glad that you're here. And if anyone that's joining us, please let us know you're here. You can ask your questions, make comments, and I'll be told about it. If you're watching us right now or you're catching us later on, make sure you click and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. So we're going to start out with May 9th. And on May 9th, it was Movement for Movement Monday. On that day was Movement for Movement Monday. In 2020, Aortic Hope started a movement for movement. As we all know, doing nothing is doing something. However, many of us need some time to simply get moving, whatever that looks like for you. So exercise, you can exercise comfortably even with allergies. Allergy season is upon many people, which means being outside, even to take a walk, can be uncomfortable. In Temple Health, an article written by Temple Lung Center titled "These 9 Tips to Help You Exercise More Comfortably During Allergy Season," you will learn that if you suffer from allergies, it doesn't mean you have to stop exercising outside or you can't enjoy your favorite outdoor sport or activity. So let's just take a look at this article by Temple Health. I know everything outside of my house in Maryland is yellow with pollen, and I start sneezing, and I've even considered wearing my mask, thinking it might help. But here are their suggestions: is just really pay attention to that forecast. And a lot of the newscasters will put up during the weather section what the pollen looks like in your area right now. Work out early or late in the day, early morning or evening. Dew weighs down the pollen, preventing it from swirling around in the air when you exercise. So that's a little bit better. Avoid damp areas, obviously where there's leaves or debris. That's a perfect spot for mold growth. So you don't want to do, like if you have a lot of allergies, you certainly don't want to go walking through the woods right now. Match exercise to the conditions. So when allergen levels are high, change up your usual exercise routine. Sports played in the grass may be out, but you can still swim or practice free throws in grass-free surfaces. If you find your allergies really flare up in certain conditions, switch to indoor activities or workouts on those days. Put on a hat and sunglasses. Cover your head and eyes. Covering your head and eyes offers protection from the damaging effects of the sun and also keeps allergens from landing on your hair, where it can linger or irritate your eyes. Wraparound sunglasses provide the most complete protection from allergens and the sun. Hit the shower after exercising. I have learned that this actually works. Showering removes the pollen and other allergens from your body and hair that may cause a post-exercise allergy attack. Allergens can also collect on your clothes, so washing exercise clothes and outerwear will help alleviate allergy symptoms. And clear out your eyes and nose. Pollen, dust, and other allergens enter your nose and eyes when you're outside, triggering allergy symptoms. Once indoors, use saline solutions to flush allergens from your nose, and eye drops or saline eye rinses to clear your allergens from your eyes. Take your allergy medicine as recommended. I'm sure we all know which ones are over the counter, or your doctor may have prescribed something, and be prepared for asthma flare-ups. Some people with asthma find allergies really trigger an asthma attack. So take extra precautions if you're exercising outdoors during allergy seasons. Know what to do if your asthma starts acting up and when to avoid outdoor exercise to prevent such a flare-up. And finding the cause and right treatment for your allergies. So understanding your allergies is important, and talk to your allergy specialist to make sure you're receiving the best treatment for managing your symptoms. So we'll go back up to the top here. Yes, I definitely have noticed that I change my exercise routine according to the pollen outside. So Chris, what about you? Do you have any allergies with pollen or anything else?
I don't. I never really thought that I did, just because I worked an outside job. But after being in the position that I'm in now, to where, you know, I'm not outside literally all the time. I do notice that, especially over the last few weeks, that sneezing more and everything, like in the middle of the day, to late afternoon. So usually, like, what I try to do is I'll go for a walk in the morning, just by myself, usually 30 to 45 minutes, and then late evening, sometime after 6:30, 7 o'clock.
It's a
Uh,
little bit better.
yeah, my wife and myself will take, our two dogs, and we'll go for another half hour, 45-minute walk, to do that, and it's about the easiest. It's about the easiest thing for.
That's right. You live near the zoo, and you told me you walk through the
Yep,
zoo.
yep, I do.
Yeah. The biggest thing I noticed, and I learned this from my daughter who has a lot of allergies, is just getting in the shower really makes a difference. Like if I do go out and walk, and it's a high pollen time, um, if I come back in and I take my shower right away, I do much better than taking that walk and coming in and eating dinner or having breakfast or lunch or something. I really noticed that I will start sneezing. And the other thing is I try not to open my windows until a lot of the pollen is gone.
Yeah.
So, especially my bedroom window, because I know what it looks like, all the pollen laying on my deck. I can't imagine all that pollen laying on like the surfaces in my bedroom. I would sneeze my head
Right.
off during the night. So, okay, so the next one is Topic Tuesday, and this is about our blood pressure. National Blood Pressure Awareness Month is here, and we want to share some information from the CDC about blood pressure. The attached article answers many topics community members discuss regarding blood pressure. However, remember this article is not to replace any information given to you by your physician. If you're ever curious as to why you need to measure your blood pressure, where can you get your BP checked, what affects your blood pressure, the correct way to take your blood pressure, how healthcare professionals measure blood pressure, and how can you measure your blood pressure at home, and how often should you take your blood pressure, and what should you do if these numbers are high. So when I took a look at this article, the correct way, and I think most of us know these, but it's a good reminder, the correct way is don't eat or drink anything 30 minutes, that's a long time, 30 minutes before you take your blood pressure. Go to the bathroom first, apparently that really can make a difference. Sit in a comfortable chair for at least 5 minutes, and both of your feet should be on the floor uncrossed. And I kind of knew that from having my blood pressure taken at the doctor's. And that you should rest your arm with the cuff on it on a table chest high. So I know when I take my blood pressure, I'm sitting in a recliner, and the side of the arm on my recliner is fairly high. And so I always make sure that I have my arm up there. Your blood pressure cuff should fit snugly and be against your bare skin. I've read different things about that. People always say, oh no, I can take your blood pressure through your sweater or your sweatshirt, and don't talk. So it makes me think about what happens when you go to the doctors and you sit down right away and they take your blood pressure. You definitely don't sit for 5 minutes or 30 minutes while you're waiting for the or 5 minutes when you're waiting at the doctor's office for them to take your blood pressure. But things that can affect your blood pressure are the things that we would think about. Being nervous just having your blood pressure taken, the whole white coat syndrome also, being worried about what it's going to be. How long you ate or drank before they take your blood pressure, and had you had caffeine before that? Caffeine can really affect your blood pressure. And if you're sitting and your legs are crossed, can increase your blood pressure. So those are all important things. Do you take your blood pressure every day, Chris?
I do. I actually take it twice a day. I take it in the
Okay.
morning. I take it in the morning, then I take it once in the evening, um,
Okay.
just to see what it's like. I actually didn't know about the waiting, the 5 minutes or whatever, or more or whatever. I didn't know about that, um,
I knew
until
about that
my.
one, but not the eating. I think
Right.
not eating between 30 minutes, because a lot of times I'll eat breakfast and then take my blood pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was my cardiovascular surgeon who actually said, because I had my blood pressure taken in his office, and they took it like they walked me back there, set me down on a chair, threw the cuff on, and then that was, I mean, it was all within 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and it was high, and he came in there and said, oh, you're a little high. He goes, I know, we check it right away. He said, let's talk, and he's like, we'll go through our conversation, whatever, 15, 20 minutes, and we'll test your blood pressure again before you went. And I mean, it was like 30 points, you know.
Wow.
I mean, it was like 30 points lower. And I know, like, uh on the 18th of April, I had an appointment with my PCP, and she was running exceptionally behind, and I ended up having to wait out in the waiting room for over an hour. And
Wow.
when I got back there, they took my blood pressure and said, "Oh, your blood pressure's high." Yeah, you've been making me wait for an hour and a half. Like, I'm really surprised it's that low. I said, because I'm pretty heated about the fact that I've had to
You
wait
had
an
to
hour
wait.
and a half. You know, I would have rather you guys respect me enough to say, hey, we're probably not going to be able to see you for an hour. Okay, cool. I'll leave. I'll go home. I don't really care. But to make me sit out there, and
Yeah.
I've watched 25 people go in ahead of me. Yeah, my blood pressure's hot. I'm getting mad. You know,
I
I
I did.
I
I have had that happen to me also, and it's even worse when they actually put you in the room and you think they forgot you in the room, and you're sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, and you don't know whether to leave and go out and say, "Hey, do you remember I'm in here?" That can raise your blood pressure too. The article did say that 1 out of 3 people can have a false reading at the doctor's for all the different reasons. So
and another thing that you were mentioning that stuff, and you were talking, that I got thinking about is, you know I've noticed that the times they say that they can, take it over like a long sleeve shirt. Like,
yes,
this is a very, very thin long sleeve t-shirt. But I can tell you right now that the times that I've wore this shirt or one that's similar to that, because I can wear this in the full summer, and 100 degrees, I can wear this. It's made for that.
right.
And I've gone into a doctor's appointment, and they've taken my blood pressure, and I it's higher than what it normally is. And I'm like, there's no way it's that high.
Right.
And then I've gone in there in a t-shirt or something, and it's lower, because it's like the cuff is on your skin. There,
Right. And they act like it doesn't really matter. And you're like, no, I work hard to control this blood pressure. I want an accurate reading. I want my doctor to actually see the real blood pressure, not
exactly,
just do your job and write something down. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm right there with you. Okay, let's move on to a therapeutic Thursday. So this is a good one. This is about rumination. And I think we've all done this, especially Chris, people have had our experiences. So today is Therapeutic Thursday at Aortic Hope. Rumination, the art of thinking deeply about something. How many of you do this regarding aortic disease? The article, Can't Help Thinking About the Past, three tips to help stop ruminating, written by Steph Corlho on Psych Central, says, memories of the past can connect you with parts of yourself that you've left behind, but persistently dwelling on your past or thinking about events that have already happened may cause you distress. Determining if you're ruminating or obsessing is very important. Rumination is when you're stuck in a loop of repeated negative thoughts about the past and you can't seem to stop even if you want to. When you think about negative thoughts or experience and just replay it over and over, but are not coming up with solutions or ways to fix the thoughts, you're most likely ruminating. And to learn more about this behavior, there is an order, and I mean an article, because they're saying this behavior, it's not a disorder, and it's not a mental. I had some notes on it, but I think we ended up deciding to go to the article. No? Oh, no, I have notes. I'll keep my self straight here because it was a pretty complicated article. So how to stop ruminating was to give your to quiet your inner critic. So really give yourself some forgiveness, give yourself some grace and self-compassion. And I think it's really important with this kind of thing to be able to self-evaluate of what you're doing and that self-awareness. The second was consider the possibilities, like writing down some positive affirmations rather than ruminating on that negative thing that happened to you and reliving it. Maybe write down some positive affirmations. Maybe some good things came from your aortic dissection. I know mine did. I can think of a few things. And then change directions, kind of like Karen says, changing the script, changing directions. So grounding yourself is a great way to move yourself out of that rumination loop, so that you can redirect your negative thoughts. And the article also said that that rumination is not always linked to mental health, a mental health condition. It's not necessarily a specific disorder, but definitely if it's interfering with your daily life, you definitely would want to try to get some mental health some mental health services to learn maybe some of these techniques of how to interrupt that. I can certainly say that I have experienced rumination, and that's kind of how I found out that I had actually disassociated, because I was ruminating on a loop of what I thought happened during my dissection and some things that happened right before the surgery and right after. And when I told my family about that, I can't get these thoughts out of my head, they're like, that never happened. That's not how it happened at all. And so that's how I found out that I was remembering things and going through a loop of activities that didn't even happen to me, and conversations that didn't even happen. But I think we all do that ruminating. How about you? Tell me, Chris, what you do.
No, I definitely had some of the same things. At one point in the hospital, whenever I was coming out of the coma, I could have swore I was being beaten by the doctors, and I was telling my family about it, and they're like, "Yeah, that never happened." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, I can tell you right now it did," and I was like, "I can show you the marks," and I looked down, like my legs and stuff, and there was like nothing there.
And you have
And
the whole, did you have like the whole sequence in your mind of what
oh
it
yeah,
looked like and what was said? Me
I mean
too.
it was so vivid of what was actually there, and I mean I put it in great description, and they were like,
Yes.
yeah, there's no way that would have ever happened. It never did. And I'm like, no, it did. And I'm sitting there, and uh, the doctor who did the surgery, who was an amazing doctor, he had come in, and I remember looking at my little brother, and I couldn't talk at the time because like I had all the strokes and everything. I looked over at my little brother, and I'm just wide-eyed to him, and I'm like sitting there trying to like get him to like look at me, because I'm sitting there looking at the doctor, trying to tell him that this is the guy who's beaten me to death. And yeah, it was a horrible moment in my life.
Well, and what about now? Like if you have like a quiet moment, like when you're just sitting there waiting for the doctor, do you still like reprocess it and ruminate on things that happen, or ruminate on what it was like when you'd had that stroke, that feeling, and you just keep reliving it over and over again? Do you do that to yourself?
I do. I had the strokes while I was in surgery. So I mean, I don't. It's not like I actually physically remember them,
No, but
but
the
I remember
effects.
the moments of waking up and not being able to communicate and stuff. And I think that was honestly, that was probably the hardest time of my life. I mean, not just being able to walk or anything, but not being able to talk, not being able to communicate. And when I have those moments of, especially like going into the hospital, where it's the same hospital that I had surgery, but that's where my PCP is,
Mhm.
and I walk in there, and there's just like this big level of, I don't know, if it's anxiety. I don't know what it is, but there's just a lot of feelings and emotion that's there, Um, and yeah, I mean, especially like with strokes, with not being able to communicate, because I woke up and I was up for, I don't know, a week or two, and I still couldn't talk yet. So I mean, I went a good week, 2 weeks without being able to literally say anything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't write it down either. That would have been one thing. If I could have physically moved my hand and wrote something down, but I couldn't even do that. I was completely incapacitated, and I think that's what that's probably like the biggest thing that to this day I still think about, especially entering the hospital.
You just relive that over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
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 And do you like, I have found a few ways to redirect it. Like, if I get stuck in one of those loops, I'll do things like I'll start the whole process of, okay, I had this dissection and this is what it looked like and this is what happened to me. And then I'll like forward, like fast forward and say, okay, so tomorrow I'm going on this trip. And so what if that happens while I'm on the trip, and I try to make up the whole scenario, what it would look like based on what happened to me before. And then I realize how silly that is. And so I'll try to get myself out of that loop, out of that thinking. And usually I can do it by either doing some of those grounding techniques, like something I can smell, something I can feel, something I can see, something I can feel, and I'll be able to stop it. And then the other thing that I use a lot is just that breathing technique to stop myself and concentrate on breathing. And I'll just like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and I just take my finger up and down my hand, to break the cycle. Do you have any um, tricks that are working for you when you recognize it happening?
I think for me, like whenever I notice that it's happening or it's about to happen, is like you'll sit back there and you'll think, okay, I used to be able to do this, I used to be able to do that, and it's like,
Yes.
you deep down, what I like to call it is I like to have my pity party, and
Yes.
I like to sit there and say I used to be able to do this, I used to be able to do that, and then you start to really get down, and all that does is just stacks layers upon layers of how you're gonna eventually feel here in a moment whenever you're thinking about all the things that went wrong in the hospital. Um, but what I like to do now is what works for me is I like to think of, okay, I had this really, really great career. It was, it was a really, I mean, there was nothing wrong with the career that I could ever think of. But I would have never gone back to school. I never would have done this. I never would have done that. And I just start piling on the things that I've been able to accomplish and that I'm trying to accomplish and I'm attending to accomplish those goals
Good.
that I have. And I never would have done that
So
had
you
I.
do that thing of flipping the script, and instead of saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
woe is me,"
yeah,
"Oh, look what I got to do because of this."
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, if none of this would have ever happened, I would still be stuck in that position to where I thought I was living my absolute best life, and that's actually not the case, surprisingly. You know, now now I am. I feel like I'm truly living a better life than what I was then, because I'm getting to experience things that I never would have done, because I would have just told myself, oh, I don't have enough time,
Enough time, right?
and
Exactly.
now now with this, fighting for Social Security and everything, yeah, and VA disability, I got all the time in the world. You know, I mean, that's all I've got is time.
I know. I'm kind of worried. Um, I I have the disability. I was able to get disability. It took me about 2 years. But once you're on disability, I think it's 25 months after you start disability, um, you automatically go on medical assistance. So my
Right.
medical assistance is going to start on June 1st. And I've just now figured out, all of my medical bills and how to figure out if I really owe that much and where to go to look. And did my copay cover what it should have? And now everything's going to change. So I'm kind of worried about that.
I just hate hearing that it takes 2 years.
Yes, it took 2 years, but I had a lawyer from the beginning because I felt like when I talked to people and they were things that they were telling me, I was like, well, I have no control over that. How am I going to make sure of that? And one of the biggest things was to make sure that your doctor was actually writing down the discussions you were having. So when you were going in and I was saying things like, I can't walk an entire grocery store anymore. I can go in and walk the perimeter and then I can leave, but I can't go up and down the aisles. Like they want to know what your functional life looks like. And when you tell those things to your doctor, if your doctor's not writing those things down for the judge to read it, it doesn't happen.
Right.
And so that and making sure that those notes actually get put in your file, because your doctor can send them in, but if they don't get put in the right place, then the judge doesn't see them. So yeah, but if you go online and you read a lot of the web pages, I watched a lot of YouTubes, and anybody that's been through it is happy to help you and tell you what we wrote.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Karen was really good. She's the one who got me in touch with the lawyer that I'm seeing, that I'm talking to now, and he's amazing. And then, of course, like I said, I was filing with the VA, so I've got a lawyer for the VA too.
Yeah.
So
well, good. I'm glad.
It's unfortunate it takes that long, but.
And so I just wanted to say one more thing about this rumination is that the one other thing that I use is when I start doing it at nighttime, when I'm ready to go to sleep and I'm trying to relax and I get one of those loops going through my head. I do use the Calm app. There's a free version of it on my phone. It's the Calm app, and it really helps. And you can either pick from like sounds like birds or a waterfall or whatever, but they also have sleep stories. And for me, listening to the sleep stories, so instead of picturing over and over and over again what it was like when we were doing physical therapy and I was trying to learn to walk, I can listen to a story about going down the river Nile, the Nile River and what it looks like, and I'll make all those pictures. And next thing you know, I fall asleep. So anybody that is trying to find a way to interrupt that loop, I really like the Calm app, and it's free. And there's another one that has a weird name. It's Insight Timer. Insight Timer is also free, and they have sleep stories. So I really like those. Do you use any apps to calm?
Actually, I do. I think I actually have the Calm app as well.
Yeah.
We listen to that because I have ringing real bad in my right ear from where I was a weapons instructor in the military.
Okay.
And that the white noise with the Calm app, it doesn't stop the ringing, but it makes it to where it's not as loud and to where I can actually go to sleep.
I just talked to somebody this weekend that has the artificial valve, and you know how you can hear that artificial valve. People talk about hearing it, and their spouse can hear it too, or their significant other. And so they were saying that they use the Calm app because it has all the white noise that you can pick from, and then they can't hear it while they're trying to sleep. So, okay, so we're on to Friday already. So here we are, Freaky Friday. Are you superstitious at all, Chris?
I'm not.
Well, then we're complete opposites because I'm very superstitious. So Freaky Friday the 13th, we just had one. Ever hear people talking about avoiding walking under a ladder, the repercussions of breaking glass, or how to avoid a black cat, especially on Friday the 13th? These are all superstitions and things we follow, sometimes without realizing it. As written in Healthline by Catherine Watson in the article titled Superstitions, What's the Harm? Catherine states superstitions are long-held beliefs that appear to be rooted in coincidence or cultural tradition rather than logic or facts. Behaviors that cause stress could cause our heart rate and possibly lead towards an increase in blood pressure. I think I left out the word increase over there. Can cause this stress could cause our heart rate and possibly lead towards an increase in blood pressure. Catherine notes that most superstitions are fun and harmless, whether you sincerely believe in them or not. But some superstitions can play into mental health conditions such as an obsessive compulsive disorder. And then so we can click here. So full disclosure, I am absolutely superstitious. Well, let me close this out. And I blame my father for it. I was raised in a very Italian family, and my father had all kinds of superstitions, like if you tickle a baby's feet, they're going to stutter, things like that. So let's look at some of these superstitions that are bad omens. Black cats. No, I don't like black cats. I will turn around if I'm driving and go in the other direction so that I won't go past that cat. Walking under a ladder, I wouldn't even consider. So what is the reason with that? When ladders were in use, they create a triangle shape. Cultures such as the ancient Egyptians found triangles to be sacred, and walking under a ladder disrupts the perfect triangle shape. Walking under ladders seems to be an act of defiance and an invitation to bad luck. See, my idea is why risk it? Like, I just wouldn't do it. Like, I don't want to find out. Breaking a mirror, looking at your own reflection wasn't just to check yourself out. In ancient cultures, consulting a mirror was a way to consult the future. Looking into a broken mirror would result in a distorted reflection, which would indicate tragedy or bad luck ahead. So it does make me feel better knowing like the reason behind where this came from. Number 13 is the one that really, really gets me. So in some religions, 12 is regarded as the perfect number, and the number that comes after 12 would be regarded as an imperfect or defiled. In early Christian and Nordic traditions, the 13th guest at a table was the one who will bring the whole group down. There's even a word for it, and I'm not even going to try to say it. But do you know how to say that?
No.
No. So, okay, so I am really surprised about the number 13 because 13 is supposed to be lucky in Italian, in Italy. But my father was extremely scared of the number 13, and he passed that on to me. So I said, in full disclosure, I won't get in bed if it's on the 13th minute. So like I look at the clock, and if it's 10:13, I'll wait for it to change to 10:14. My husband just looks at me like he just shakes his head. And then I won't get out of bed if it's like 7:13. I'll watch the clock, and as soon as it changes, and I feel better now that I don't have to rely on a clock that I set. So I know that like everything is universal, so my watch is right. So that's my number 13 story. Four-leaf clover, it's not clear why four-leaf clovers came to mean good luck, but presumably a four-leaf clover would be an anomaly found in a patch of three-leaf clovers, and finding one is a rare occasion. Have you ever found one, Chris?
Have. Yep.
So they mean faith, hope, love, and luck. And I never heard of this one. Crows are scavenger birds, and many believe that can sense death before it happens. For this reason, some people believe that seeing a lone crow means calamity. Yeah, calamity is imminent. That is calamity, isn't it? Yes.
Yes.
Knocking on wood. Of course, I've heard this one. Many a statement like this will be a good year was seen to be an arrogant and an invitation to meddlesome spirit intent on disrupting your plans. After making a statement to indicate that you predict good things ahead, it became customary to knock on wood of walls or furniture around you to drive away these evil spirits. I'm surprised that that's not a big one in my family because my grandmother always talked about evil spirits. So was your family superstitious at all?
No, we're completely opposite of like my wife's family. Here in Louisville, we have a place called Waverly Hills, which was an old TB hospital. So I mean,
Okay.
thousands of people in the country came here. Thousands of people died, and supposedly, quote unquote, it's haunted. Well, we did. Um, we were supposed to do like an hour long little walk around there one night. It was like maybe 10 o'clock at night, and I actually paid the lady who was there. I actually paid an upgrade to where we would actually spend the night there.
Wow.
And my wife just lost her mind. Like it was not okay. She felt all these things, and I mean, the entire time I was walking through there, and I was cracking up at everything that they were talking about. They were like, "Yeah, you can feel it. It feels colder over here than what it is over here."
See,
And
I
I
would
was
have
like,
believed it. I would have believed all of it.
and I was the opposite. I was like, the window's open. It's October. Like, I don't, you know, they're like, oh, if you listen, you can hear, this little kid Timmy who was bouncing a ball, who was a patient here, blah blah blah, and you hear it, and like I can see a shadow, so like I know that there's somebody down there, literally bouncing a ball, like, and like all these people just fed into it. One lady actually ended up having a heart attack.
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
yeah, she was so scared she had a heart attack. Um, and then it was like, but we went with like a group of 6 people, and I think I had two of the other guys um, went in with me, and they all bought tickets to spend the night there too with their wives, and because I mean we were just walking through there, just cracking up at everything
See,
that
I
was.
would walk through, but I would never spend the night.
Oh, it was it was the most ridiculous thing, like, to me, and I like we went there uh went there like the following year. They were doing a Halloween tour, and like there were people that were like around the corner, and their job's to scare you and stuff like that, and they would come out and they were like, oh, I'd be like, what's up, and try to give them a high five. It there's just not.
So you had fun with it, huh?
Oh, I had fun. I mean, it was fun. I mean, it was very fun to me because I mean, I was just laughing at how everybody was reacting. But as far as like actual superstitions, I just never did. I never did
Never
get them.
bought into it. Okay, well, let's go to these next ones and think about if you bought into any of these with luck and love. So seeing the bride the night before the wedding. Did you see your wife the night before the wedding?
Yes,
Yep, yep. I saw my husband. Did you have something old and something new at your wedding? Do you remember?
she did. I did not. I don't believe it.
I did. I did. And then with this wearing something blue, um, both of my girls, when they got married, I cut a blue heart out of my husband's uniform, police uniform, and we sewed it inside of the wedding gown. So
I mean, I guess they had something old, something new.
catching the bouquet. Did you even do that at your wedding?
I don't think so. I don't know
Yeah,
that I've really done
girls
much anymore.
my girls didn't do that, but of course it's supposed to be the next person that gets married. In my family, my mom and my dad always swore that when a baby was born, the first married woman to hold the baby, the newborn baby, would be the next person to get pregnant. So that was always like a big thing in my family. I don't know this one, the Daisy Oracle, the old trope of counting off a daisy petal. Oh, to determine if he loves me not, is sometimes called. Yeah, I've heard of this. To pluck the daisy.
I've heard of it. Obviously.
Yeah, I just thought that was a school. I just thought that was a like an elementary school game. Don't sit in the corner. I know about don't put baby in the corner, but particularly in Russian tradition, single women are encouraged not to sit at the corner during a dinner party. Sitting in the corner, the superstition goes, will doom that woman for life, for eternal spinsterhood. So, okay, and here's some with health, wealth, and prosperity. Oh, I have heard of this. The itchy hands are supposed to indicate that you're supposed to be holding money soon if your palms itch.
Well, that'd be nice.
Okay, now my Italian grandmother did this, throwing salt. Salt has been thought to carry a spiritual energy. So salt, which is used to be extremely hard to procure and only to be safely let me start over. Salt, which used to be extremely hard to procure and the only way to safely preserve meat, was so valuable it could be used as currency. Spilling salt was seen to be irresponsible, and it was an invitation to catastrophe. So throwing salt over your left shoulder, however, was thought to undo the bad luck. And so that was a thing in my family. If we spilled the salt, you had to throw it over your shoulder. So, do you say God bless you when somebody sneezes?
I don't. So the salt one.
Okay.
So it was okay. So what does it say? Let's see. Spilling salt was seen to be irresponsible. So then you would because it was so valuable. So then you throw more over your shoulder.
I don't know. My family did it. They still do it to this day. If the salt canister falls over, my mom will be like, "Oh, throw the salt over your shoulder," saying "God bless you." I think a lot of people do that. I've never heard of this, an old broom in a new house. Bringing an old broom into a new home was thought to transfer bad energy from one place to the next. Similarly, it was considered bad luck to use a broom that was left behind by a home's previous occupant. Using a new broom upon moving to a new place was meant to be a cleansing act that purified the residence. Well, my daughter has bought my house, so maybe I should leave her a new broom. Never heard of this one. Boil milk and rice. In some cultures, boiling milk and rice is a way to christen a new home. Milk and rice symbolize fullness, prosperity, and wealth, being welcomed into the new space. I've heard about like the sage burning in a home. So it goes on about the superstitions, but apparently there are enough superstitions that if you become obsessive over it, it can affect your mental health. And I can see that because although I know that none of it is true, I just don't take the chance. So there is treatment. So that's good to know. If I ever cross that line, there is treatment. So the takeaway is, in most cases, superstitions are harmless. In fact, it's possible that you hold superstitions that you're so used to that you're not even aware of them, probably like the God bless you thing. And they are like magical thinking. So that's a lot of fun. We could probably have a whole discussion about these.
Oh yeah.
So, okay. Oh, wait, okay, I must have had two of those. Okay, so the last thing is about the John Ritter Research Foundation, and that with the Genetics 101, genes are the basic physical and functional units of heredity. Genes are made up of a DNA and act as instructions for our body to grow and develop properly. The Human Genome Project has estimated that humans have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. Genes are stored in packages called chromosomes. And the genetic syndromes that we've been looking at in our community that we talk about is Marfan syndrome, Loeys-Dietz syndrome, vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, Turner syndrome, and I'm sure there are more. But so have you had your genetic testing done?
I did a long time ago, but it wasn't for obviously anything with aortic. It was for my son. He's autistic.
Okay.
And I carry the mutated gene that caused the autism, and it runs in my family because my sister also has a son who's 6 months older than mine who also has autism.
Interesting. And what gene was that you were saying?
I don't know. I don't remember the name of the actual gene, but I mean, it's the gene that caused his autism.
Okay, I thought there was a name that you knew the name. That's interesting to me. I had genetic testing the first time with my breast cancer, and that did show something. But it has nothing to do with my cardiovascular system. I have something called BRIP1, BRIP-1. And so then when I did dissect, and you know, as I got better and we started having our routine visits and I started asking about genetic testing, my cardiologist submitted it to my insurance to see if they would pay for it, and they wouldn't. They said that I was dissected from the carotid artery down both legs, and the response in writing was there was no reason to know anything else. And of course there is, because it's important to know if you have a connective tissue disorder. It's important for my daughters to know. So we were kind of lucky, and even though my insurance would not pay for it, what we did was they already had, I can't remember who we went through, but the same people that did my genetic testing for the breast cancer went back in and looked for anything with the dissection, and they didn't find anything, which is important to say. Just because they didn't find anything doesn't mean there isn't something there that just hasn't been identified yet. So
and you didn't have to get physically tested again,
right? I wasn't.
They used your previous testing.
Right. So there's a couple ways around it. And now with the John Ritter Foundation, what you can do is there's an email. It's probably located in this article. You can email them, you tell them your story, and then you can do your genetic testing through them. If they don't find anything, it takes a long time. If they don't find anything, they don't contact you. If they do find something, they will contact you. And my understanding is once they have your sample, as time goes on, they will resubmit it over and over again to see if they have discovered more things that they can connect you with. So it is worth to be part of their research program.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that. I sent an email in, but I've never heard anything. Have you ever contacted them? No. So, okay. I'm really glad you were here today, Chris, so I had somebody to talk to.
That's fine.
So, and good luck with all your appointments coming up. I don't have any appointments this week. I'm really happy to say. So, okay, well, we will be back here next week at the same time, and 1 o'clock next week. I'm sorry. So next week on Monday at 1 o'clock. So a little bit earlier, jump on, and we'll see everybody next week. So thanks everyone for watching.